Hey everybody, so the last time you saw my 1985 Chevy K10 here, this is Big Green, it was a lot colder and a lot sadder than it is today. Now that was over on TFL Truck. That's where Big Green has lived so far, but from here on out, this truck is coming over here to TFL Off-Road. Now let me get you up to speed on what's going on with this Chevy. If you've never seen this truck before, let me give you a quick history. TFL bought this 1985 Chevy K10 about 3 years ago. Now when they bought it, it had the original 305 in it, but luckily Chevy helped us out with a ZZ6 crate engine. Now that is a brand new 350 V8, and the boys, along with their mechanic Ted, swapped that engine into this truck. Now the TFL crew did some work to make the truck look nicer with a new grille and a new seat on the inside along with some vinyl flooring, but besides that, everything else you see here is how they bought it. Those 35-inch Mickey Thompsons and the 4-inch lift, that's how this truck came. Now last summer I purchased this truck from Roman. So the first video, if you want to go find it over on TFL Truck, is driving this K10 all the way from Boulder, Colorado to my home just outside of Toronto, Ontario. Now that 1,500-mile road trip, the whole thing feels like a red herring because we had no mechanical issues at all. The truck ran solid. It wasn't until I got back here to Ontario that I started having troubles. Now next up, I shot a full winter review with Big Green. I took her out and played in the deep snow, and the ending of that video was pure disappointment. So the last time we saw the truck, it looked like this. Oh boy, well, this was a fun day in the snow, wasn't it? It's not anymore. For my tow truck. This is a sad situation. It's not how this day was supposed to end. So the first time that Big Green died on me, I was at a gas station, not a bad spot for that to happen, and I really wasn't sure of the issue. Now the truck went back to my parents' house, it sat in their driveway for just a couple of days, and then when we went out to it, my brother had a hunch. He thought maybe the fuel pump was just frozen up, so while tapping on the fuel pump with a big hammer, the truck came to life. All of a sudden, it started right up. So I thought we had found the issue, but I was totally wrong. And here's photos from the next time it died. Yes, it happened to me again, and this time I got serious. I got a qualified mechanic, and I brought it into him. So on that cold winter day, there was no doubt that I was pissed off at this truck. I even talked about ripping the EFI system out and putting the carburetor back in. That was maybe a case of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That was the anger talking. I knew it was a fuel delivery issue, so I just said, get rid of that fuel system, but that's not the answer. I did find the answer, and I'll tell you exactly what we did to get this thing going again, but first, watch this. It even shuts off better now too. I was having some sort of dieseling issues earlier, and now that we've done this fix, that's all gone too. Now let's look under the hood and I'll show you what we did. So the very first thing I did was I found a qualified mechanic, right? I wasn't exactly sure what the issue is, and you know, I've done some wrenching, but certainly nothing this heavy duty. So I went out and I found a mechanic who not only had experience with ZZ6 crate engines, but also with some old square body pickup trucks. And the answer to what he did is all about the wiring. So let me jump behind the camera here and I'll give you guys a view of it. So the immediate issue and the reason why my truck died on that day was because of just this wire right here. That is delivering power to this. This is the high pressure fuel pump, and it just literally stopped getting power. So this wire was entirely shot. So I brought it over to my mechanic. He replaced just this wire and said, boom, you know what? It started up and you're good to go. But he also spotted some other wiring issues on this engine. So he went ahead and did a couple different things for me. One of the most important ones is right down in here. You can see that heat shielding. Now, those are the wires that run most of the things in the cab, almost all the power to the cab. And before, they were just dangling. They were loose, they were dangling there, they were, you know, really vulnerable, and they're high power wires. They shouldn't be like that. So he wrapped them up for me, put them in the nice heat shielding, made sure they're tucked away properly. You may or may not remember, and I'll find a shot of it, there used to be a big bird's nest right here in front of the breather. So my mechanic took all that stuff, he tucked it where it belongs, behind the breather back there, sort of in front of the distributor. There was also a wiring issue with the alternator. It was just not properly gauged, the actual wire that was being used, so he replaced that stuff for me, and same thing, tucked it into a nice cover there, so everything's, you know, in a nice sleeve and tucked away. He rewired a lot of the important things on the engine, not to mention found a whole bunch of wiring in the back that wasn't even necessary, along with a rubbed through wire that was giving me my brake light issues. So the short answer to what my issue was wiring. Now that's not the whole answer. I've still been having some problems, which we'll get to in a little bit, but now let's go take a look at the box of shame. And here it is. This is what my mechanic gave me when he was done with the truck. He called it the box of shame, and that's because it's just all kinds of unnecessary wiring and old botchy wiring jobs, all kinds of connections like this taped up. There's my cat. Say hi, Banjo. All kinds of crap. Let's see what else I can find in here. Lots of stuff that was just totally rubbed through. Yeah, I mean, just bird's nests. You know, the biggest thing too was unnecessary wiring. There was wiring for trailers that, you know, didn't go anywhere, and old people, someone had done it a while ago. This is multiple owners have made these mistakes. So this was part of the relay, and my mechanic actually mentioned that the fuel pump was in the relay for the choke that the truck used. That was also wrong, so he fixed that up for me. Take a look at that, rubbed right through. That is brutal. So he found all kinds of stuff like this for me, and he basically just pulled off any of the old crap and replaced it with a new wire. And even if he found those weird bad old splices, he took them and just replaced the entire wire, because that's the proper way to go. And you know what? Right here, you can see why my trailer lights weren't working. Or sorry, my brake lights weren't working. The line, once it focuses, was just totally rubbed through right on the frame. So I was blowing constant fuses, and I had no brake lights at all. And I mean, not only is that not safe to have no brake lights, but it's also super not safe to have a bunch of freaking wiring on your truck that's all rubbed through and horrible. So you know what? This ended up being a bigger price tag than I wanted, but there was so much bad wiring, and bad wiring equals not only not running, but could also equal a fire. I mean, he was a little bit surprised that Big Green hadn't burned to the ground yet. And you know what? Not being an expert, I don't know how honestly close it was. But anyways, I feel definitely safer now. And the box of shame, well, I'll hold on to it just to remind myself of all the bad wiring on this truck. But it makes me feel good that I've got that all fixed up now. So while the truck is still running, I want to take the chance to talk you through a little bit more about my problem, and then about the future of Big Green here. So first of all, the trickiest thing with my issue is that it's been intermittent. So after I got the wiring fixed, I actually drove this thing all the way to Oshawa. That's all the way on the other side of the city. It's about a 4-hour round trip, and that was all highway. So it was all high speed, 60 mile an hour. Everything got, you know, totally up to temperature. So I was thinking if it was a heat issue, it would have presented itself there, and no problem. The truck made it there and back. I thought I was out of the woods. Then the day after, I'm out driving, and suddenly, boom, it just dies on me. Now in that case, I took a deep breath. I pulled into a parking lot. Luckily that was right there. And I cranked it back over, and it started right back up. So I don't know what killed it that time. Hasn't happened to me since. And right now I've been cruising today and no problems at all. So fingers crossed that my issues are solved. But yeah, it does look like I have some type of weird intermittent problem that wasn't the wiring. The wiring definitely helped. It starts better now, it shuts down better now, the lights on my interior seem to be brighter now. Everything about that wiring really helped, but I do seem to have one more intermittent issue. But for right now, I'm just keeping the truck local, I'm not going far with it, and we'll see if it ever, you know, represents itself. So what about the future? Well, there's a couple things I'm gonna do. First off, get ready for the next video with Big Green, because it's going to be this truck in the mud. I'm going to take it up north. I'm going to take it to my Hydroline mud trail. I'm going to sink it in the mud, and we'll see how these 35-inch Mickey Thompsons do. I have off-roaded the truck, but not really hardcore, and this is going to be hardcore. So we're going to go for it, and we'll see how she does in the mud. Then once that's done, the tires are coming off. I want to get it in the mud with these tires, but I'm not keeping these Mickeys on here forever. I need something that's less aggressive, that's not going to suck up so much fuel and be so noisy on the road. I don't know what yet. Definitely a set of all-terrains. I just don't know what kind of all-terrains. Maybe just a set of KO2s, but we'll have to wait and see. I'll have to decide what kind of tires to go for. Now, the other thing I'm doing for sure is suspension. Right now I have a block lift in the back and long leafs in the front, but I want to get rid of the blocks. I want proper long leafs, proper suspension lift all the way around. So I'm going to get new suspension. Now, here comes the question, and I'll tell you my opinion. You guys share your opinion. I'm thinking about going with a 2.5-inch lift and then a set of 33-inch tires. Right now it's a 4-inch lift on 35s. I'm thinking 2.5 on 33s. 33s on this truck still look pretty good. I actually read online a lot of guys fit 33s on these trucks without a lift, but I definitely do like a little bit of a lift here. I don't want it back in stock height, but I don't think I want it as tall as it is either. So that's where my head's at, 2.5-inch on 33s. And I'm just excited to get real suspension underneath me, because this thing is, you know, it's still really stiff, unnecessarily stiff. And then after that, who knows? I don't know what I'm going to do with this truck. I'm just going to drive it. You know what? I absolutely love this thing. Maybe I've said this before in other videos if you've seen it, but I'm going to say it again. I just love driving this truck. You know what? I like going to the grocery store in it. I like putzing around town in it. It just puts a big smile on my face, man. I really don't think I'm going to get tired of driving this beauty anytime soon. So I want to keep it nice, and that's another thing I'm probably going to have to address real soon is rust. There's barely any rust on this truck. We live in Ontario. There's so much road salt here. I haven't got it undercoated yet. I know probably some heads are going to explode on that one. I haven't driven it a lot this winter, but no, it's not undercoated, which is not good news. Trust me, I know. I'm super worried this thing's gonna just become a rust bucket, like, you know, tomorrow. So this summer, I think I'm gonna try to deal with a lot of the small rust spots to make sure they don't grow into anything bigger, and then just monitor it. You know, what else can you really do? And then luckily, you'll probably be happy to hear that next winter, Big Green will be sleeping. This was the only winter this truck is going to be driven in, and I kind of had to drive it this winter for work, but not anymore. That's it. Those are my plans with Big Green. That's what's going on with the truck. Make sure you guys stay tuned, because the next time you see this K10, it should be a lot dirtier than it is today. And so far the truck has just broken all by itself. I haven't had to do anything, but who knows, when I put it in the mud pit, maybe I'll be the one breaking it. So like I said, guys, that's it for this episode. Make sure you come back here to TFL Off-Road if you want to keep on following along with Big Green. And as always, make sure you go below, hit the subscribe button, and come back to the channel for the latest news, views, and real-world reviews. See you later.